something feels weird this time. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm sitting in a new chair. Anyway, welcome to Binge Watchers, where we talk about the stories and characters we love and the shows they live in. My name is Ron, and let's talk about Season 4 of The 100. Watching this show is like watching a child grow up. Season 4 of The 100 is almost an entirely different show from Season 1. Season 1 very much felt like a teen drama in an interesting setting, but the characters, even though they're all played by like 30-year-old actors, were kids. So it was like Lord of the Flies light if everyone's a supermodel. Season 2 and 3 did a pretty good job at expanding this world, introducing us to the Grounders, Mount Weather, the politics of the Grounder clans, their traditions, this entire civilization that evolved on Earth while the people on the Ark thought that they were the last of humanity. There's still one issue though, and I get that this has no effect on the story whatsoever, but why do they assume that they're the last people on Earth? I mean, they know human history. They know that people in Europe or the old world thought that they were alone in the world until they discovered that, oh shit, there are actually people fucking everywhere. Let's make everybody our bitch. So wouldn't there be more people who survived in other parts of the world or even in other parts of the United States? All of this doesn't matter, because even if there are other people in the world, obviously the people in the 100 can't rely on that. They have to work with what they have. It's just the type of thing I think about while watching this show. Anyway, this is a Season 4 video, so you've probably already made up your mind about this show. If you're just looking for a should you watch it, then sure, it's a solid season, and if you liked the other ones, you're probably gonna like this one. Now, spoilers ahead. Season 4 is the closest this show ever got to breaking away fully from its teen drama origins. Clark and Octavia still hold the show back a little bit, but this show has matured, and this is a very exciting season. The theme of The 100 for the past few seasons is impossible choices. How far are you willing to go to save your people? And how many times are you able to include the phrase, my people or our people, in a single conversation? This season is no different. The challenge this time around is that at the end of Season 3, when Clark shut down Allie, she learns that another catastrophic extinction-level event is coming, and it's going to wipe out what's ever left of the human race. So the whole season, this time around, is about trying to figure out how to survive this and how to manage the different clans as they're trying to figure this out. And the stakes do feel very high. Almost every episode has the characters dealing with immense grief and guilt over things that they've done in the past or people they've lost. All they are at this point is the attempt to save what's left, and they're often blinded by it, to the point that they don't really recognize themselves anymore. The adult characters, Jaha, Abby, and especially Kane, continue to be, in my opinion, the best part of the show. There are plenty of other interesting characters. Bellamy and the journey he went on from Season 1. Murphy is one of my favorite characters. Monty and the whole Jasper death cult, all of that thing is heartbreaking. But I'm not sure why. Kane is the character that hits me hardest. He's the one I feel for the most. What I liked about this season is that these choices they have to make, the same things that happen in every season of The 100, do we kill a bunch of people to save another bunch of people type thing, but in this season, and maybe it's because I'm already so invested in the story at this point, it just feels more like these really are the last possible options, and they absolutely have to choose, and these choices will affect the future of everybody. The 100 also gets more grim from season to season, not in the sense that it becomes more violent, but in the topic of discussion in the season. For example, Jasper's whole arc this season is about him accepting death and looking forward to it. Not because he wants to die, but because he wants to live and not just survive. So he chooses to spend his final days being as happy as he can. And even when there's hope of a solution, he doesn't want to hear it because he already made up his mind. That's a very human thing. Once you've made a big decision, you will justify it, and it's very hard to turn back. and I kind of loved that he follows it through all the way to the end. The most science fiction-y part of the show is everything that has to do with Raven. She still has some of Allie's code in her brain, so she's super Raven, but it's also killing her. Not that she wasn't the most useful character in the show before then. Why isn't Raven just, running the show? I kind of thought I was gonna hate Raven's whole story in the lab, but I like that they're working on these solutions and trying to figure it out, and some of them just don't work. They just don't. They go terribly, terribly wrong, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. The only thing they can do is just move on. I like that most of the time, there's no magical solution. There sometimes is, and there are plenty of things in this show that I can nitpick, and things that don't make sense, or things that just happen because they're convenient for the story, but none of it broke the show or bothered me in any way or kept me from enjoying it. The weaker part of this show has always been the action scenes. There's a lot of potential for really cool fight scenes this season. The Conclave is pretty awesome, even though it's basically the show reminding us that it's a post-apocalyptic YA novel. But all of those fight scenes are so heavily edited, so many cuts and shaky cam, that it feels like one of those Liam Neeson action movies. You can't actually see what's happening. The fight scene ends and you're like, I think that was cool. I think they did a cool thing. I really couldn't tell. But that isn't the focus of the season, so it's not too much of an issue. Octavia has an interesting arc in this season, but I just can't take that character seriously at all. She is the kid fantasy character. She is the young adult Hunger Games Divergent character. She was a scared little girl, and now she's this brooding, dark, badass warrior. And that's really cool. She just doesn't pull it off. So it feels like the other characters and stories have moved on to a more mature show, but Octavia's whole thing is in like the season 1 version of the show. Clark, who was my least favorite part of season 3 because I felt that the show has grown past the overacting and the extreme drama, she's a lot better in this season. She's more interesting, she's more human, she struggles with the fact that there are never good choices and that maybe she isn't really fighting for everything and for everybody and for the human race. Maybe she's just like everybody else, willing to fuck people over just to protect herself and the people closest to her. That's an interesting journey. I didn't like the fact that she survives though. The selfless act of sacrificing herself for her friends who went to space would have been a beautiful end to her character. I didn't think they were gonna go through with that though, and they didn't, and that kind of sucks. The season ends with her somehow surviving. The Nightblood must have worked. There's another younger Nightblood with her. It's like 6 years after the bunker and space, and she sees a prisoner transport touching down. Who could it be? More humans that were also in space and we didn't know about them? Humans who have colonized another planet and want to use Earth as a prison? Is it aliens who speak English and are also CW supermodels? My only problem with season 4 is that it felt a bit like more of the same, like more of season 3. And if the story is now going to be Clark and friends versus these prisoners, it might really be more of the same, but we'll see. Bottom line, I just spent like hours talking spoilers, so either you've watched it or you just don't care. Anyway, I'll be watching season 5 when it comes around, but I hope it'll be the last season. I hope the story gets wrapped up. It probably won't though, unless the show becomes too expensive to make. The CW doesn't really cancel shows that do well, like, ever. Supernatural is like on season 94 or something. But that's all I got for you this time. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps out a lot. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram and TV Time, or you can join our Discord server where we chat about TV and it's a lot of fun. And if you're finding Binge Watchers for the first time, welcome. I'd like to invite you to join the Binge Watchers community. Come talk about TV with us. It's a lot of fun. Subscribe to the channel. But in any case, keep binging, and I will see you next time.